This was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond.
As Trump 2.0 takes shape, we are trying to get as many diverse voices as possible. And joining me now, and thank you so much for doing this, is Kapil Sharma. He's the founder of Kapstone Strategies and also a non-resident fellow at Atlantic Council. Thank you so much for doing this. First things first, Trump 2.0 is on the hours away. What are your thoughts on some of the important things that Trump will have to deal with when it comes to geopolitics?
I think we have to have some patience when it comes to the first 2 weeks of the Trump administration. There'll be a lot of focus on domestic policy. The international politics and the international side will focus on some tariffs, but I don't think that we'll see much activity on India in those first 2 weeks. I think there will also be focus on the Gulf and the resolution of the Hamas-Israel war that's been going on.
President Trump famously said during campaigning that, he could pick up a phone and end the Ukraine-Russia war. Do you think he can do that once he assumes office?
I don't think he can do it on the first day. But, it's interesting. Trump hasn't even been in office yet, and you see countries scrambling. You see a lot of, people talking about what it will be like in a Trump 2.0 administration. Greenland says they're ready to negotiate, to talk to the president about different issues. So it's not that he'll resolve it in day one, but he definitely has people talking before he even comes in. And I think that's equally as important.
What are some of the areas of concern for him? Obviously, 2 wars. He's already talking about, taking up Greenland. But some of the areas where he probably differs on how Biden handled some of the foreign situation. And what do you think the change could be when he takes office?
I'm not sure as to how much change will take place. I know for a fact that the Biden administration and the Trump officials have been working pretty closely. I know that the Trump officials have been in the Gulf with Biden officials to ensure that there's a transition. And there is a positive transition from Biden to Trump when it comes to the Gulf. When it comes to other things, the difference, I think you'll see just a lot of focus on the domestic side, a lot of executive orders, and I think it's going to take time for a lot of people to kind of absorb the impact. You'll also probably see a lot of lawsuits as well.
Yeah, the shock and awe that's been talked about of this executive orders is what you're trying to talk to.
Yeah, but I mean, every administration has that shock and awe type of thing. The Biden administration did the same thing as well. When they first came in, they also issued a lot of executive orders. So the issuing of executive orders is not a new thing. It's a question really on whose side you're on.
Okay.
So I think border people are going to be happy. I think people who want to curb illegal immigration are going to be happy. I think the number one issue that Trump is going to have to deal with, which I think they're dealing with in India as well, is an economy. People are nervous about inflation and nervous about jobs.
There's broad consensus in this town when it comes to India-U.S. relationship, and everybody we've talked to, is very bullish about the relationship. What are some of the challenges you think that Trump might have to take on when it comes to India?
When it comes to India, I think there has to be a better understanding by this administration as to what can India do with China. Unlike some of the other countries that this administration will be working with to curb China's influence, they don't share a border with China. They haven't lost land to China. So India has a different type of approach when it comes to China and dealing with China. So I think that's what this administration will have to, have a better understanding of.
I mean, I spoke to Congressman Rich McCormick yesterday, and one of the things he brought up in the interview was oil. And he said, we'll have to talk to India about not buying that oil from Russia and selling to the European partners. Do you think you could see something of that develop on the Hill where, there's a little bit of hesitancy cooperating with India, especially when it comes to matters like that?
Oil is a sticky point. There's no question about that. I think actually what's going to be a bigger sticking point is the Indian companies that were recently sanctioned for selling equipment to Russia. Before that, it was never really a problem with Indian companies getting sanctioned by the U.S. government. This changes things, and it was reflective in the semiconductor groupings that just recently took place where India was in tier 2. And because of that, I think on the oil side, as long as the United States can, and other countries and other allies like Guyana can meet the difference, then I think it won't be as big of an issue as people want to make it out to be.
And one last question, President Trump has talked about making America great again. How does he make America great again? Your advice to incoming administration?
Oh boy. When it comes to making America great again, I think people want security. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what any person around the world wants, whether it's India or United States. And right now, that's coming down to the economy. Do you feel good about your economic situation? Do you feel good about being able to buy dinner, go out to eat, to enjoy yourself, to find a job? I think that the increased amount of layoffs that have been taking place is making people uneasy, which is why the president has been focusing on growing jobs here. My one bit of advice to people that are looking at the bilateral, we need Indian companies to invest in the United States as much as we need U.S. companies to invest in India.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Cap. This is going to be a very, very interesting administration. And as I said before, there will never be a single day without something big happening from Washington, D.C. This is Rohit Sharma.